On August 3, 1923, Vice President Calvin Coolidge became the 30th President of the United States upon the sudden death of his predecessor, Warren G. Harding. His father, Colonel John Coolidge, a notary public and justice of the peace, administered the oath of office at 2:47 a.m. in the sitting room of the family home in Plymouth Notch, Vermont. Headlines announced the news the following day, and Americans everywhere wondered, who is Calvin Coolidge? Perhaps his lasting legacy is not his legislative record, but his personal record of leadership with dignity and humility. In his own words, he once observed, "It is a great advantage to a president and a major source of safety to the country for him to know he is not a great man."
The 1919 Boston police strike has had an impact on Bostonians and Americans that has lasted for generations. To appreciate its place in history, it's important to understand the timeline of events that led up to the crisis. Years later, during his short-lived retirement, President Calvin Coolidge wrote his autobiography. Looking back on his life, he reflected upon his 2 terms as governor of Massachusetts and the dramatic events of 1919. In his own words, Mr. Coolidge clearly recognized the role that fate had played. "No doubt it was the police strike of Boston that brought me into national prominence."
There are 3 main characters in my version of the 1919 Boston police strike with whom I interacted most closely. The police commissioner, Mr. Edwin U. Curtis, the mayor, Mr. Andrew J. Peters, and the founder and president of the American Federation of Labor, the AFL, Mr. Samuel Gompers. The strike occurred on Tuesday night. The Guard were called on Wednesday, and Thursday I issued a general order restoring Mr. Curtis to his place as commissioner in order to control the police, and made a proclamation calling on all citizens to assist me in preserving order, and especially directing all police officers in Boston to obey the orders of Mr. Curtis. This was the important contribution that I made to the tactics of the situation, which has never fully been realized. To Mr. Curtis should go the credit for raising the issue and enforcing the principle that the police should not affiliate with any outside body, whether of wage earners or wage payers, but should remain unattached, impartial officers of the law with sole allegiance to the public. In this, I supported him. Soon, Samuel Gompers began to telegraph me asking for the removal of Mr. Curtis and the reinstatement of the Union policemen. This required me to make a reply in which I stated, among other things, that there is no right to strike against the public safety by anybody, anytime, anywhere. This phrase caught the attention of the nation. It was beginning to be clear that if voluntary associations were to be permitted to substitute their will for the authority of public officials, the end of our government was at hand. The issue was nothing less than whether the law which the people had made through their duly authorized agencies should be supreme.
In the spring of 2017, Tracy Messer, a living history performer from Peterborough, New Hampshire, made his very first appearance as Calvin Coolidge. Perhaps the question people ask him most often is, why did you choose to become the next 30th President of the United States? He'll answer with a smile, I was born to play this role. To contact Calvin Coolidge living history performer Tracy Messer, visit keepcoolwithcoolidge.net.